a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of videos ago, I introduced the idea that I'd had the opportunity, or I was going to have the opportunity to sit in a workshop with the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra. And that has happened now, and I'd like to talk about that experience. Welcome to Jared's Place for Music, and today I would like to discuss a little bit about what I learned and perhaps what another musician might learn, whether you be a professional coming into the orchestra scene, or maybe you're an amateur or a highly accomplished amateur. It doesn't really matter. It's what I learned from being surrounded by excellent musicians, and the experiences and regrets, I guess, that I took from that workshop. Just to recap, I found out on one of the social media feeds, probably Facebook, that the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra was going to have a come and try, or a come and play with the orchestra thing, for amateur musicians to come and experience what it's like to sit in and work with a professional orchestra. Presumably there's some sort of a grant to make all of this happen, right? So I applied through the correct channels, but then I also did a little bit of backdoor work, because I know the principal trumpet player of the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra. Not well, we haven't spoken for many, many years, but, you know, to say g'day and by name, we know each other, right? So I also sent Dave a text message saying, hey, look, this thing's coming up. I'd really love to do it. I don't know what sort of response you're going to get or what trumpet players you're going to get, but if you could put in a good word for me, I'd really, really love to come up and do it and sit in your section and maybe learn a few things from that. And he wrote back and said, I'd be good if you could make it, and blah, 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 I'll put in a good word for you. Whether he did or not, who would know? Anyhow, the short of it is I got accepted to this workshop. Turns out, I think that they might have been short for trumpets, because they did extend the offer for applications to the trumpet section. So maybe I was a shoo-in anyhow, I don't know. But it turns out they did end up filling the section with the appropriate amount of people. When I got there, I found that out. And so anyhow, got accepted, and the build up to it was really exciting. They send the music through, and the piece that we had to play or learn was from Sibelius Symphony No. 2 in D major. It's a spectacular work. It really was beautiful and kind of challenging, right? I did not find it easy at all to play, and certainly not in the first instance. I did a little bit of work on it at home, probably not enough. Note-wise, not that difficult, but entry-wise, it certainly was a difficult piece to play. I was put in, I guess, the first trumpet chair, which was great, because that's where I would normally play in my regional orchestra here in Mount Gambier. You know, really, I guess for me the challenging thing was the entries being very soft, and in some cases reasonably high, on a high B or a high A above the stave, just coming in very gently, which is not my forte by any stretch of the imagination. I got away with it. So it was great. So in the lead up to the event, after getting accepted, I find out the week before or 2 weeks before the event in Adelaide that the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra is playing in Mount Gambier. I already knew that, and we bought tickets to go and see them play. But as part of that, they also did the same come and play or come and try, or whatever you want to call it, with the local orchestra musicians in the theatre here in Mount Gambier. I didn't know about that when I applied initially for the workshop. So I put my name forward for that as well, of course, and there's not many trumpet players, so that was a bit of a foregone conclusion. But I got to do it twice, right? So I wasn't expecting to have this opportunity twice, which was just incredible. So the first one is here in the Sir Robert Helpman Theatre, and of course I only skim read the emails. I turn up on time, or early, because I'm compulsively early, to the orchestra, and the instructions actually say to go through the front door of the theatre. But when I've got my trumpet case with me, my instinct is just to go to the back door, which is what I've always done since being in high school, doing musicals and stuff in the theatre there. So I went through the back door, and everyone's like, oh no, you're in the wrong spot, you shouldn't have come through here, but anyhow, it doesn't matter, go up the back way, and get your name tag, and they've got a sticker with your name on it and stuff, and start getting ready. So I did that. And now the orchestra the night before didn't have the trumpet section that I was expecting to see. Great players, they had good players, and I knew the secondhand a little bit, but I knew the two players. And I was like, oh, the regular principal trumpet player is not here for the concert, so maybe he didn't come down to Mount Gambier from Adelaide for the performance. So when I get there, I'm expecting to sit next to, not the player I was expecting to sit next to, but still a good player. So anyhow, I get my trumpet out, doing a warm-up and trying not to sound like an idiot, and trying to, play with a good sound and with in tune and blah, 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 and it sounds okay. Make my way to my seat, and I'm sitting there on my own on the trumpet chair, and no one else is there. I'm thinking, oh God, are they not coming? And then I'm expecting the trumpet players from the previous night's performance to turn up, but no, the regular principal player is in town. He was just doing something else the previous night for a different audience. So that was great. Dave sits down next to me. We reintroduce ourselves, and I meet the other trumpet player, Martin. He's a lovely bloke and a really great player. And we work through, I don't even think I have the title of the piece. No, I don't even know what the piece was called now. But the best bit about this piece for me, well, the worst bit about this piece, they sent the music in advance with probably a week to spare, I suppose, before the rehearsal or the workshop. And it's written for trumpet in A. Now, I struggled transposing from trumpet in C. Oh, sorry, it's written for trumpet in D. And now I struggle at the best of time transposing from C trumpet to B flat trumpet, let alone from D trumpet to... Anyhow, so that was a disaster. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to try and transpose this on the fly. So I sat down on a quiet day at work and hand wrote the whole part out, the first trumpet part and the second trumpet part out, transposed it for me and whoever was going to play the second trumpet on the day. Unfortunately, the work computer doesn't have Sibelius on it or music notes or whatever it is for that. So I had to hand write it out, which was good practice. Haven't done that for a long time. So yeah, did that and turned up, put my handwritten thing up on the thing, and Dave puts up his part on the thing, and he's got to transpose on the fly. I was like, Dave, or do you want to just read mine? He's like, no, I've got it. And so he transposed on the fly. So, but the cool thing, right? So this piece, if I play the start of it, you might actually, you might recognise it. So I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it on the screen what the name of the piece is. But the best bit is we've got 4 trumpet players. There's Dave, the regular principal trumpet player of the orchestra, me on first trumpet as well, Martin on second trumpet, who's the regular second trumpet player with the orchestra, and then another local bloke playing second trumpet with him. So 4 trumpets, and it starts with the whole rehearsal. First thing you hear is a trumpet fanfare. It was just magnificent. So that was cool, and I thought we sounded bloody brilliant on the opening. It was really, really cool. I'll see if I can play it. See if I don't make a mess of it. Hang on, I've got the music here. I'll just pop it on the ground. I haven't done a warm-up, but I've sort of tried to keep my mouthpiece warm, so hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. That's a long way away. I can't see it. Whew. All right, let's see if I can make this sound okay. So remember, 4 trumpets, 2 of us really nervous because it's the first time we've played with a professional orchestra at that level. We're surrounded by all these other incredible professional musicians, and we don't want to sound like dummies, which we didn't. But hopefully the fanfare at the start, you'll recognise the piece and you go, oh yeah, that's cool, it's a great piece. And it was a really great piece. Yeah, so that's how it started. First take. 4 trumpets, double forte, loud, accented, was really a real highlight for me to be able to sit through that. So we go through the whole rehearsal and we're working on this piece and we kind of play it pretty well and it all sounds pretty good. So the conductor, Guy Noble, was conducting, quite a famous Australian conductor. He was conducting the piece and he's like, well, what now? We're an hour into this 2-hour workshop. What now? So we started working on some of the other movements in this piece, which of course now we don't have the transposed music for. So that was less comfortable. But thankfully, the second movement that we then switched to, there was only 2 notes in it. So once I'd worked out what those 2 notes were, we were pretty good. So we did that, and then we... oh, is my watch telling me I'm in a loud environment? That wasn't that loud. So then we had a break, and then we came back, and then we had a little audience, like friends and family could come along, and we played the 4th movement. It was fun to do it, and well, I don't know, it was just really great to play in my theatre, like the local theatre with this orchestra. Yeah, that was a cool experience. So we all pack up and say goodbye, and I say to Dave, I'll see you on Monday at the Adelaide thing, which I then do. Go to Adelaide and drive up and check into the hotel. Stayed in a hotel that's right next to where the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra rehearsals on Hindley Street in Adelaide. Thinking it's going to be the dingiest, dodgiest bloody hotel in town, but it turned out to be reasonably nice and was okay. So turn up there, front door early because it's a problem that I am compulsively early. Walk in and met at the door by the people who put this thing together. I say, instrument case is here, your seat's got your name on it, grab a seat, get organised. So I sit down and there's all these seats, there's so many seats. The orchestra is twice the size of what they brought to Mount Gambier. I'm thinking, oh, well, this is going to be incredible because there's so many players. I'm not sure at this stage because I'm one of the first ones there, whether it's mostly orchestra people or it's mostly people like me who are just turning up to be part of the event. So then everyone starts coming in, filing in, and I introduce myself to the other trumpet players that are there. There's one from the Salisbury City Band and then one from the Unley Concert Band out of Adelaide. And then Martin, who was in Mount Gambier, he was there from the orchestra, and then some other bloke, and I can't remember his name, which is a bit rude. The other bloke was playing second trumpet. To be honest, I don't think he wanted to be there, but he played great. He was an excellent player. So sitting there and we put the music up and then Dave sits down and he's like, well, I hope you've done some work on this piece because I haven't. This is the Sibelius piece now. And Dave knows that I'm a half capable trumpet player. And I was like, oh, mate, I had a bit of a look at it, but, it's pretty tough. And the piece is in 6/4, so it's kind of hard to count. I said that to him. I said, hopefully it's easier when there's a conductor there rather than sort of, trying to count through a recording when I was listening to it. So, we start and it's in 6 and I can't count it, right? It's just a disaster. I'm thinking, I have no idea where we are. Nothing falls, as is often the case with classical music, nothing sort of falls on one that comfortably, and it's like, I don't know where 1 is. And I turned to Dave, it's like, where are we up to? There's 24 bars rest at the start, followed by 6 bars rest, followed by 16 bars rest, followed by 9 bars rest, followed by 7 bars rest, and it's switching from 6/4 to cut common time. And Dave's like, oh, I'm not counting because there's a cue. So that's the first time that cue happens in the piece. Just wait for the cue. It's like, Dave, I don't know the piece that well. But anyhow, when the cue happened, just before we were due to play, it was reasonably obvious, which was good. So I was able to catch up and figure out where we were up to. We start rehearsing and keep playing through, and the trumpets come in, and it's all just lovely. The articulation is clean, and the tuning is as close enough to perfect as you can imagine. And even though the music is challenging in its own way, it was just effortless to play. So I got to sit there and I didn't have to worry because I knew there wouldn't be split notes around me. I knew there wouldn't be tuning problems, and I knew there wouldn't be wrong entries. Mostly, there was a couple, to be fair. It's hard to explain after coming from playing in community orchestras where I am, one of the stronger players in the area, I guess, to then be in this environment where you're surrounded by everybody can play. There's no passengers. Everyone's earned their position. Everyone's getting paid, and everyone is amazing. Unusual setup. In front of me is the timpanis, which is a bit unusual, but it was awesome to watch him play and how careful and considered he was with every stroke he made on the timpanis. And then behind me I had the low brass, the trombones and the tubas were over this side a little bit further. And they were just in tune, and they had these counterpoint things going on, and they were just perfect. And in my ears it was stereo. Counterpoint, probably not right, answering parts. So in one ear I had the bass trombone, and then in my other ear, because they were over here and here, I had the second part of the line. It was just, for me, it was magic, right? And then up the back further, 5 French horns and 4 bassoons, and the richness of having so many strings was amazing. Like in the local orchestra, if we get 8 or 10 strings, I guess, it's a good turnout. But to have, I didn't count them, 25, 30 maybe, I don't know. It was just so full and warm sounding. I really enjoyed that. But then comes the challenges of playing in an orchestra. The violins are, the first violins are 20 metres away, or 15 metres away or something. The second violin's even further, or the viola even further away. Like, that there is, without doubt, a time delay there that needs to be managed. Not used to that. So I found that difficult. That's where, of course, watching the conductor... Oh, I didn't mention the conductor for the second workshop in Adelaide. So the workshop in Adelaide, the conductor was Benjamin Northey, and that was a highlight as well. He's maybe the most renowned Australian conductor, orchestral conductor at the moment. He's working with all the orchestras in Australia, and presumably overseas as well. Check out his social media. He's quite active on Instagram. He was so passionate, and he made us feel like, us amateurs, he made us feel like we were meant to be there. And he treated the whole experience for us, because it's an experience for us, it's a job for everyone else, but for us it's an experience. It made that experience feel like a proper rehearsal. He talked to us about the music and what it meant, and he corrected things when they were wrong, and it felt like a proper rehearsal that at the end of this we've got a performance to do. And I really appreciated his approach to this. He could have just blown through it and went, yeah, that's great, everyone, go home, have a cup of tea, or whatever it might be. But he didn't. He picked it apart, and he worked on sections, and thankfully mostly he left the brass alone. I guess maybe we played really good and he didn't have to worry too much. But he did some work with the strings, and he did some work with the oboes and the bassoons. He worked with the double basses as well, and it was, and you could hear what he spoke about and how then those sections or players were able to respond to that, and that was really, really lovely too, because often in a community orchestra you'll say, can I have more from the second violas? You're not going to get much more out of the second violas. They're trying their very, very best at any given time. The professional players, they lock in and they switch on and they concentrate and they fix things. So when you ask for something, you get it. So that must be nice working with professional ensembles from that perspective, I guess, as a conductor, being able to say, oh, I want this, and then magically it just happens. So we go through the rehearsal and we work on the whole piece. It's a 42-minute or 45-minute piece, and every movement sounds and feels a bit different. And I was just, my cup every minute was just filling up. My cup was getting fuller and fuller and fuller. It was just incredible. At the end of the rehearsal, we did a little performance for, again, friends and families who may have wanted to turn up to the Granger studio and have a listen. Oh, something else had happened, right? I've got my Bang & Olufsen speakers here, which I love, right? But when I was working for Bang & Olufsen in Adelaide, we sold a system to the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra, and it is still set up in the foyer of the Granger studio. And I couldn't help myself. I walked up to the BO Sound 9000, which is the six disc CD player, and they had a couple of BLab 4000s mounted up on the wall. And I went up to the CD player. I just had to turn it on, but it's been years, 20 years, to see if it even still worked. And it does, it still works. And the players that were there in the break came up to me, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just putting this music on." And they're like, "Oh, does that thing still work?" We've never ever seen it used. Never seen it used. They've got the most glorious sound system in their foyer and never seen it used. It just baffles me. Anyway, I put some music on in the foyer and that was cute, and I told a few of them that were interested that, my history with Bang & Olufsen. Yeah, and I was working for them when that system was installed. But then off to the side in the foyer, there was another sound system with a couple of little crappy bookshelf speakers and a Denon AV receiver. And I'm like, "Oh, if you don't use this, maybe you use this system over here. If you don't use the B&O one, do you use this?" And they're like, "Nah, that doesn't get turned on either." It's like, oh, for God's sakes. I felt like ripping it all off the wall and bringing it home with me. If they're not going to use it, it would go lovely in my living room. Anyhow, that's my little Bang & Olufsen connection to this story, which was cool. Anyhow, that was the rehearsal with the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra. It was a true pleasure to be able to sit with them, and I thank the organisers for it, and hopefully they do it again, and hopefully I get to do it again. I guess now I probably lean into the regrets of how I felt afterwards. So Dave, the trumpet player, and I went out for a drink after the rehearsal or the workshop, and we're just sitting there talking, and he's telling me about his kids and what they're doing, and I'm telling him about what I do for a living now. And I said to him, what I regret about tonight is not practicing. And it wasn't not practicing the music for that evening. That I played it, right? I played it pretty good. In fact, on the first run through, Dave perhaps politely said I played it better than he did. But I don't know that. But anyhow, that's a nice story. I said, no, what I regret is not practicing 30 years ago, because I enjoyed that performance so much, or that rehearsal so much, that experience, that environment. I enjoyed those people so much that, and 30 years ago I didn't understand that maybe that was a pathway. Maybe 30 years ago, if I'd known, of course I knew orchestras existed, but if I'd known that maybe I was good enough, maybe 30 years ago, if I'd done the work, it'd be me sitting in that section with someone, an amateur sitting next to me, and me mentoring and helping them. And that's my regret. So if you're a budding professional playing the trumpet and thinking maybe there's an avenue to create music or play music for a living, maybe it's in a symphony orchestra. Maybe I didn't believe I could do it back then, but knowing what I know now, I believe I could have done it. I believe in my deepest soul that 30 years ago, if I'd practiced, that would have been a pathway to an income, to a lifestyle, and to a way of doing that every day and getting paid for it at a very high level. But what I don't regret about it is doing it, because it was extraordinary. So if in your city, in your state, anywhere in the world, if your local professional orchestra I mean, there's amazing orchestras all over the world, right? So you know where they are. If one of those orchestras has an opportunity for you to sit in with them for a workshop, go and do it. Whether you're a trumpet player or a violin player or the French horn sounded amazing. But if you're a horn player, whatever instrument it is, take that opportunity and go and sit in with a professional orchestra. Whether you're a has-been like me or never was been like me, or maybe you're on the way up and you want that experience, I can't recommend it highly enough. And maybe orchestral playing's not the way you're going with your musicianship. Maybe you're going to be a jazz player, or maybe you're going to be a soloist, or maybe you want to be a studio player or play in a funk band, whatever it is, right? Whatever your vocation on that particular instrument is, the schooling and the discipline and the musicianship that these guys have was amazing. So that's my story of the workshop with the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra. Thanks for sticking around.